to Invest Insights. I'm Abby Maloney. I'm joined today by Kenneth Welch, the Commissioner of Pinellas County, Florida. He joins us for Season 2. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more insights like these. Ken, statewide, the COVID-19 pandemic was at its peak in mid-July, and since then, the number of new cases has been on a steady decline in the state of Florida. However, since the beginning of September, that has started to level out. How has the Commission adjusted its plan to help the continuing decline of cases and hospitalization in Pinellas County?
Abby, we've had a very data-focused and collaborative process in Pinellas County. We are used to engaging in preparing for emergencies, being in Florida. We prepare for storms. We know what to do when a storm is heading our way. So that model of collaboration between public safety officials, elected officials, and the community is already in place. What we had to do was adapt that to an extended threat, and that's what this pandemic has turned out to be. And so along the way, we try to be data-driven. We've set up a great dashboard that looks at several factors, but primarily keeping our healthcare system capacity in a safe range. And so based on that data, we have input from an emergency policy group, including the sheriff, emergency management officials, healthcare officials, hospitals, and they give us input and we base our policy decisions on that. So our Safer at Home order was based on input from that group. Our mask ordinance was also based on that. So going forward, we make sure we get the latest data, the latest reality of what's happening on the ground, but also look at the trends and what we see around the corner. We know flu season is coming. We know that August 24th, we opened up our K through 12 schools. So we have to mix all those things in with an eye on keeping our healthcare system capacity at a good level.
You know, you mentioned the mask ordinance, and 3 months after enacting that ordinance for indoor public spaces, the County Commission has indicated that it's ready to begin exploring the idea of whether to repeal this requirement or not. What do these conversations look like at this moment in time?
It's a broad conversation, but again, we are going to rely on the advice from the healthcare professionals. And in my view, the mask, the social distancing, and the community buy-in is what allowed us really to flatten that curve and have one of the lowest positivity rates really in the state. We're at about 3.3% now. We want to maintain that. So I think you want to undo the very actions that got you in a good place. So we're not in a rush to repeal the ordinance, but you know, the era that we are in, there's information out there and then there's misinformation. And so we're trying to wade through that, make sure the public understands what we're basing those decisions on. But in my view, this is, you know, it's been said many times, it's a marathon, not a sprint. I think one of your most powerful panels at Invest Tampa Bay was the healthcare panel. John Couros from Tampa General, I think, laid it out very well. There are 4 things we need to do: wash your hands, make sure you wear a mask, socially distance, and make good decisions around crowds. And he said, you know, a vaccine is probably late this year, early next year, and then you've got distribution. So I don't see us removing those masks in the short term. And if we do that in the long term, it has to be very carefully done so that we don't start to see that positivity rate creep back up. Remember that our college students aren't necessarily adhering to those 4 rules that Mr. Couros laid out. And so when they come back home for Thanksgiving break, that's another potential event. And so I think we have to be very careful in how we approach moving backwards on a mask ordinance.
Aside from university level students, counties across the nation are tackling the possibility of reopening schools for in-classroom learning. And in Pinellas County, the public schools have been open thus far this school year. And in that time frame, there have been multiple reported cases of students and teachers having testing positive for COVID-19. What is the general feeling from parents, the school board, the commission on the remote learning versus in-person learning and how it's being handled? And what is the commission doing in response to that feedback?
Well, the school board is separate from the county commission, but we do have very good cooperation. In fact, a school board employee sits on our emergency policy group. We were always concerned about the impact of 50,000 students going back to school and 20,000 employees going back to school. And that's only if half of the students took advantage of in-person. About half at last count are doing the remote or online learning. And so we're judging now to see 3 weeks into that, have we seen an impact and a peak? And so we're working with the schools. It's an individual parents or family's choice, whether they do the in-person or the online, but we're again looking at what are the impacts on our healthcare system. If there's a spike, how do we handle that? Do we have testing in place? Do we have contact tracing in place? The Department of Health is a part of our team as well, and they handle the contact tracing. So it's a partnership with the schools, but we knew there would be some impact when K through 12 went back to in-person.
We are nearing Election Day, and from your perspective, as it relates to Pinellas County, what are the key races, ballot measures, proposed legislation that will likely have the greatest impact on the counties that the voters should be aware of?
Such an important question, Abby, and there's so much there. First of all, folks ought to feel comfortable voting by mail. Pinellas County has led the state in voting by mail. It's the safest way to cast your ballot. You can do it from home. You can take your time and research the candidates and issues. And Pinellas County has prepaid the postage for everyone that's already signed up for voting by mail. So we recommend that. Our supervisor of elections has extensive experience with voting by mail. Secondly, folks just need to turn out, vote their conscience. In my case, I'm partial to the county commission, and I've got two colleagues, Charlie Justice and Janet Long, who have done a great job. And they are folks that approach issues based on the science, the data, and the facts. That's really what we need in our county and the state of Florida going forward as we face not only things like COVID-19, but as you well know, down in Miami-Dade, sea level rise, it impacts everything, our economy, our environment, and our way of life going forward. So those are the two races that I'm hoping folks make a good decision on.
In this season too, we are looking at resilience, and these past number of months, I think we're testing the business community, all communities, more than people first anticipated. What have the past number of months taught you about resilience?
Every generation has its challenges. This is the challenge of our generation. And I'm so proud of the way the community has stepped up, the way the business community has stepped up. You highlighted several businesses, including the legal community, that have really on the fly changed their way of work, made virtual work work for their businesses and their clients. And we are resilient in terms of our capacity to adapt to change. And I'm really proud to see that. And there, despite all the acrimony that we see on the news every night, if you walk your neighborhoods, if you talk to folks in the community, there is a spirit of helping each other out. And I think you see that through hurricanes and storms. After the storm, folks are pitching in and lending their neighbors a hand. And that's what I'm proud about in terms of our community.
As I understand, you are term limited and reaching the end of your last term on the commission. What is your next journey?
Well, you know, Abby, I love this community. The county commission actually does not have term limits. But I've decided after 5 terms, this is a good time to look at other things. We've got a great commission, great county administrator. Now, my friend Rick Priceman is a mayor of St. Petersburg, and he, in fact, is term limited, and his term ends next year. And so being a St. Pete native and being so proud of our community and the progress that is before us, but also the challenges, I've decided to run for mayor of St. Pete next year.
Well, good luck, Ken. Thank you so much for joining us. That was Kenneth Welch, the Commissioner of Pinellas County, Florida. You've been watching Invest Insights, and my name is Abby Malone. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Hey everyone, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel so that you can stay up to date on the latest business trends from our knowledgeable experts. Be sure to check out the description below for more information on the segment you just watched. Thanks for tuning in.